So this is the sim that I chose for today. I thought she was super cute and she fit like the vibe of Brindleton Bay as well as like the zodiac just generally. So let me show you her in the gallery and then we'll get on to touring the build. So this is her. She's just called Cancer Female. She doesn't have a name, but her traits are romantic, family orientated and gloomy. And she's got the big happy family aspiration. She's made by KMoon713 and she's known as the mother of the zodiac. Cancer is intuitive, empathic and nurturing. She enjoys time at home and would rather curl up with a book than go out. Warning, she cries a lot. Okay, so now let's tour the build. Oh, it's hard to actually get angles because of all the shrubbery around this lot, because it's like hidden by the road and the rocks and the trees. It's hard to get good angles, but this is the build and I think it's super cute. This is not my style. I say this every time, but this is really not my style, but it turned out adorable. I'm proud of this one. So let's come inside and check that out. So we come in and we have this little, didn't give her pets. She should have pets. I'll fix that. But we come in and we've got this little entryway sort of side table coat hook situation going on. And we've also got some coat hooks over here. But coming down this way we have a dining room with mismatched chairs and a kitchen. And I really wanted the idea of clutter. Now the brief wanted me to make it more of a family home, so that's what I did. And then we have like a laundry in here and also a downstairs toilet just in here. If we come back down this way we have the living room. I'm not quite sure why the light is so overexposed, but it is in places. But we have this lovely intimate TV sort of area. And then even though one of the chairs is dragged over, we have this more sort of fireside seating area over here with space for all the pet stuff as well. So coming upstairs, we have a little play area for the kids and also just this seating area with some decorations and stuff and a bookcase. Oh, we also have like this big photo wall as well over the stairs. So coming in here, this is the primary bedroom. So we have a little desk nook, wardrobe, a space for a bassinet and bedroom. And I love just like this sheer window wall. I love it from the outside. I think it looks really good from the inside as well. So if we come out this way, straight ahead, we have a big bathroom. So we've got a bath for the little ones and the dogs, shower, toilet, table for towels and all your other sort of bath bits. And then in here, this is a guest bedroom, so it's just sort of, you know, that room that it just ends up being the junk room because you've got nowhere else to put it. But I have never seen this bed cover before and I'm not a fan of the frame, but the actual cover, the pattern on the cover, love that. So yes, and then coming into this final room we have a little nursery and it's just pink and blue and I think it's adorable. We have some toys, we have night lights, changing table, all that good stuff. So if we drop downstairs again, we can go out and have a look at the garden. So we have this covered, I'm not sure what's happening with that. Oh, it's where I need to fix that. I've got a few things I need to fix as always, but I will fix it before it gets up on the gallery. But we have this little outdoor table with a barbecue area and we have a nice little rocking chair moment around the side and we do have a bench around the side too, so you could look out over this river. And then if we drop down we just have this gravel pathway that wraps around the build with a nice curvy flower bed. So I haven't done one of these briefs before without doing a voiceover, so I wasn't quite sure when to run through the brief because I couldn't tour and do that at the same time. So I might just do it now and then you can skip it if you don't care. So the style was cottagecore, coastal or vintage. The ideal world, Brindleton Bay, Windingberg or Hempstead on Bagley, but personally I felt like Windingberg because of the whole water element. The exterior should be soft pastel siding in a pale blue, dusty pink or whitewashed brick. That brick isn't whitewashed, but it needed like something to ground it, I felt. But wraparound porch with rocking chairs and hanging plants. Thinking about it, I didn't do any hanging plants, but there are plants out there. Overgrown moonlit garden with lilies, hydrangeas and lavender. I'm not sure what those plants are, but we definitely have lavender in there. It did suggest a backyard with a tiny family cemetery, but we didn't really have the space, and I also wasn't getting the vibe from this point. It does say or a memorial tree, so maybe one of these trees is a memorial tree, who knows. A backyard with a greenhouse or a moonlit tea garden. Didn't really have the space for that, but we do have that undercover porch, so use that maybe. The interior, the ground floor was a family photo wall, which we did put upstairs just because of space constraints. Coat hooks and umbrella stand and soft lighting. The living room was a large comfy sectional sofa. I didn't like the vibe because we've only got that Dream Home Decorator one and it just wasn't the vibe, so I did make a different choice. A fireplace with mantle full of keepsakes and candles, bookcases, knitted blankets and cat furniture. A subtle lunar or sea themed decor. Kitchen, country kitchen with vintage appliances, display shelves for jam jars and cookbooks and teacups, small breakfast nook with bay window seating. We didn't do that, but again, constraints, like I didn't want to jut out this build with the style I was going for. And a bulletin board for family reminders. The dining room was traditional table with mismatched chairs, a cabinet filled with heirloom dishes, which we didn't do because we didn't have the space for it. And it did say a moody colour palette, but as it was part of the kitchen, I just kept it consistent. Bathroom is a clawfoot bathtub, a seashell or moon mirror. I think there's a seashell on that mirror, and lots of candles and bubble bath clutter. Upstairs, the primary bedroom is a canopy bed or heavily blanketed bed, pale silvery walls with moon and star accents, crystals, memory boxes and love letters, and a private journal or writing nook. The child's bedroom or nursery is a whimsical storybook theme, hand-painted walls, use of murals and decals, but we have like that Sims 2 mural wallpaper, so I thought that was kind of cute. No, that's not the one that I used in the end, was it? It was the pink, the pastel pink little square detail one that I always think is like abstract stars. Soft toys and photo memories of every milestone. But we did get the toys in there, and the memories could come with time. Guest room or ancestor room can double as an ancestor shrine or memory room. Old portraits, vintage trunk, maybe a seance table if you're a spooky Cancer. And then bonus, pet area, Cancers adore animals, include a whole corner dedicated to them. Laundry room, Cancers love nesting tasks and give them a detailed laundry room. And a mood room, which we didn't do. But yeah, that was the brief, and then I did ask about an overall colour palette, and it said think soft, emotional and nurturing colours that feel like a hug. A moonlit walk or a warm cup of tea on a rainy day. The palette should lean towards watery, lunar and vintage tones. So pale blues, seafoam green, dusty rose, blush pink, soft lavender and moon white. Accent colours, navy or midnight blue, silver, creamy beige and warm wood tones. So I think I did that pretty well. But with that, that's all we've got time for today. I hope you had fun hanging out with me, and let me know what your favourite part of this build was. As always, don't forget to let me know if there's something that you particularly want to see, and also why not give me a subscribe, because most of my viewers aren't actually subscribed. So if you think you are, maybe just check. But with that, I will leave you to the rest of your day now. I hope it's a good one, and I will see you next time. Bye!